10% of the income across your lifespan will go to a trucking company. Because everything around you, from the cotton in your bedsheet to the TV in your room, has been on a truck at some point. But what if I tell you the biggest, the most profitable trucking company in India won't be the one which has the maximum number of trucks? In fact, it would be the one with zero trucks. By the way, most of you watching this haven't subscribed. If you really want to understand what matters in business, hit that button. So how does a trucking company really work? On the surface, it's simple. Move goods from point A to point B, charge a fee, and make money. But look closer, and the supply chain is so complex, just like a maze you cannot escape. For a trucking company to lose money, it's just as simple. They deliver goods from point A to point B. But now, the next shipment waiting is back at point A, while the truck is stuck at point B. For the return trip, they face two choices. Either bring it back empty and absorb all the fixed cost, or somehow find a load for the way back. That single choice doesn't just affect margins, it decides survival. And here's the kicker. Even if you own 10 trucks or 100, the problem doesn't shrink. In fact, the bigger you get, the more brutal these costs become. Now, the first half of the business, transporting goods from point A to point B, is mostly solved for. All you have to do is be present in a high demand industrial zone, build relations with small players, or secure a big contract with a large one. Since 40% of India's entire road logistics moves on just 6 major routes, this is the easiest part of the business. Now comes the second part of the business, moving goods from point B back to point A. And this is where the nightmare really begins. At point B, supply is high but demand is weak. Small players are scattered and hard to find, while big players usually don't operate in such areas, which means there is no consistent way to get demand. So how does a trucking company solve for this? These are the two steps a company can take to solve this problem. Step 1, marketing. Not flashy ads, just enough so that small businesses know you exist. You can't find all of them, but if they know your name, they will find you when they need a truck. Step 2, storage. Build a brand around offering some of the lowest cost warehousing. Small companies always need a place to hold goods. And if those goods are already sitting in your facility, moving them is just one phone call away. With just these two levers, you turn empty returns into steady return loads. And that solves the single biggest leak in trucking, the empty backhauls. Now you might wonder, if a company has solved for return loads, why not just own its own trucks? Wouldn't that mean higher profits, since they don't have to pay someone else for higher trucks? And why would the biggest, most profitable logistic company be the one with zero trucks? Here's why. Over 70% of trucks in India are owned by people with fewer than 5 trucks. The barrier of entry is so low that owning trucks gives you no real advantage. The real edge lies in securing consistent business. Secondly, logistic is deeply cyclical industry. If you own 100 trucks, there will be months where half of them stand ideal, and other months where even 100 feel insufficient. Profitability in logistics isn't about making money only in good times. It's about surviving and growing through the bad times. And even if you solve the return load problem, that only fixes 30% of why companies go bankrupt. The other 70% come from deeper structural issues. Around 35% of logistic companies shut down because of cash flow stress. Their money goes out faster on fuels, toll, EMIs, and wages than it comes from customers. Another 20% collapse under heavy debt, mostly truck loans. And the rest 15% disappear because of government policy changes or external shocks like COVID. And this is exactly where owning zero trucks becomes the superpower. Brand awareness and low cost storage solve the return load problem. Having no trucks means your fixed costs stay minimal. So if a client delays payments or the business cycle turns down, it's not an existential crisis. And with no trucks, you carry virtually no debt. That's why the future's biggest logistic company won't be the one with most trucks. It will be the one with none. So a business in the trucking space isn't just about solving the problems of shippers, the customers who need the goods to be moved. It's equally about solving for the small truck owners. That means transporting goods at the lowest possible cost for shippers while making sure the small truck owners keep their vehicles running so they don't collapse under low utilization, high fixed cost, or broken cash flow crisis. This is NoNoise, where we understand what really matters.